do we develop into moral people? Well, that is a question that this fellow, Lawrence Kohlberg, studied intensively during his life and really created the foundational theory of the development of morality. So, first of all, let's consider some definitions. So, what is moral reasoning? Well, that's the basis for our ideas about social justice and ethical behavior, right? How should we think and behave in order to understand ourselves as ethical people? Kohlberg argued that reasoning is the window into morality, and he argued that there's 3 stages or types of moral development. And he called these 3 stages pre-conventional morality, conventional morality, and post-conventional morality. And the way Kohlberg conducted his research was to develop stories that had complex moral questions in them and to look at how people made decisions about those stories, about what was the right thing to do when it wasn't at all clear what was the most ethical decision to make in that situation. Let me tell you a little bit more about the 3 stages, and then we'll go over one of the famous moral stories that Kohlberg used. So, again, 3 stages. In pre-conventional morality, people are motivated by their own self-interest. They'll do whatever they need to do to get rewards and avoid punishments. You can think of small children, right, acting this way. In the next stage, the conventional stage, people think of their morality in terms of being good citizens of their community. So communities have law and order, and how do we make our community a morally righteous place, right? We help one another. We follow, say, speeding rules, right? We don't drive on freeways like idiots, not because we're trying to avoid a ticket, but because we're trying to be good members of our society. That's conventional morality, according to Kohlberg. And then the final stage is a stage that Kohlberg thought very few people actually reached, and that is not to think about morality in terms of your community, but to think about morality in terms of the world, in terms of humanity. What's the best thing for the world? Not for your community, not for you as an individual, but for your world. I want to spend a little bit of time telling you about one of the most famous stories that Kohlberg used to understand moral reasoning. And this is the Heinz Dilemma. And let me just tell you what the Heinz Dilemma is. So here's the story. There's a woman who's near death from a very rare cancer. And there's only one drug that might cure her of this rare cancer. And the only pharmacist who makes this drug charges 10 times the amount of money that it costs him to make the drug. He can make this drug for $200, but he sells it for $2,000. Okay? Now, this sick woman has a husband named Heinz, and he does everything he can to try to get a hold of the $2,000. He tries to borrow it, get friends, whatever he needs to do to get the $2,000 to get the cancer drug to cure his wife. But he can only raise half of that, $1,000. So Heinz goes to the pharmacist who makes the drug and begs the pharmacist, please, please, let me have this drug for my wife for $1,000. I'll get you the rest of the money later, whatever. You'll still be making a whole lot of money if you sell it to me for $1,000. And the pharmacist tells Heinz, no, I discovered this drug and I'm going to make money from it. Later, Heinz comes back once the pharmacist is no longer at his lab, and he steals the medicine and so that he can give it to his wife. Now, Kohlberg's question is, should Heinz have done this? Why or why not? Now, Kohlberg doesn't care what your answer is. In fact, there's no right or wrong answer to any of these questions. What he cared about is, how did you arrive at the answer? So let's take a minute here I want you to think about this Heinz dilemma. What do you think is the right thing? Should Heinz have not broken into the lab and stolen the medicine? Or was he right to steal the medicine? And why? What do you think? It's not obvious, right? But here's what Kohlberg would do with the various types of reasoning that people use to reach their answer. So, pre-conventional morality, so again, those are people who were doing things out of their own self-interest. Heinz would be happier if his wife did not die, if he saved his wife, so therefore stealing the medicine for the cancer was the right thing to do. So it's all about the self. The conventional morality is all about what's best for the community. And that's sort of a law and order. Communities have laws and we must follow them. Stealing is wrong, so Heinz should not have stolen the medicine. Right? And arguments that Kohlberg interpreted as evidence of post-conventional morality would talk about universal human ethics. So maybe if your line of reasoning was that human life is the most important thing and anything that you can do to keep a person from dying is the right thing to do, then Kohlberg would place you in the post-conventional morality reasoning. So that is like the classic theory of moral reasoning. Because it was a classic theory, there were a lot of criticisms of this theory, and there still are. So the first one is, what's the relationship between moral reasoning and our behavior? Right? I can reason one way, but what do I actually do? And there's a lot of researchers who found evidence to support the idea that our reasoning about what's the right thing to do is very different from what we actually do. And you'll get this in a second. Another line of research suggests that intentional reasoning is not a definer of what we do, that in fact it's our gut reactions that define what we do, so that studying logic is not the way to understand moral development. Another limitation of Kohlberg's work is that he only studied Western cultures, right? And if you're talking about a post-conventional, universal way of understanding morality, then you can't simply study Western cultures. And morality isn't the same all around the world. It varies a lot by culture based on history and the availability of food and education and all sorts of things. There is a very big question that's related to the disconnect between our social reasoning and our social behavior, and I'm as guilty of this as anyone, is something called social stratification. We treat people differently depending on the social category that we place them in. So, for example, I believe that human beings are very important and should all be treated with respect. And yet, I live in Los Angeles. Every day I get in the car and drive someplace, I'm driving by homeless people. And do I give them money or food or shelter? No, I don't do any of that. I just drive right by them. So there's a disconnect between the values, the moral values that I hold, and the actions that I perform. Another limitation of Kohlberg's work is that it was only studied with boys. So he didn't study women because he felt that girls and women were morally inferior to men and boys. Yeah, super sexist. Carol Gilligan. And she really had the strongest critique of Kohlberg. And she said, this moral reasoning stuff, that's not what guides our moral behavior. It's empathy. Can you connect with another person? Can you feel their pain? That's the driver of morality. And Carol Gilligan, who wrote a classic book in 1982 called In a Different Voice, Gilligan argues that women and men can achieve the same level of moral sophistication. That's our discussion of moral development. Come back and we'll talk about the development of relationships.